What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of the best wide receiver press release hand fighting techniques, okay? So we're going to be talking about a bunch of different things that you guys can do off the line when that DB decides to get physical and shoot those hands at you. But also, fellas, I want to talk to you about content that we just started offering yesterday. We have exclusive content on why routes did not work. So you get access to, if you check out that very first link in the description, you sign up on our Patreon, you get access to videos on why routes didn't work, just like the videos on this YouTube channel, all the routes that we break down, but why they didn't work. We go into, okay, this receiver did this wrong. This is why this didn't work. DB did this correctly. So we need to do this next time. So I think this will really give you guys a lot of value. Again, check out that very first link in the description, you guys. Hope we get you on that soon. Let's get started with this video. So number one thing right here, we're going to be talking about this route from DIDNT Adams and how he's able to rip underneath this, where he rips underneath this DB's arm, okay? So now when we get him to move off this platform, you guys got to understand when it comes down to hand technique, don't make it too complicated, okay? I don't want to make things overly complicated. I don't want to, okay, I'm going to swat here, then I'm going to rip here, then I'm going to swim here, then I'm going to shrug this off. You don't want to make it complicated. Pick a move, stick with it, and then roll. And a lot of the times it's going to be reactionary. You don't need to make this thing, you don't need to confuse yourself when you don't need to, right? And everybody loves to talk about, oh, DIDNT Adams doesn't use his hands, right? Now, perfect example of this is this right here. He doesn't need to use his hands per se right here, but he still works his hand technique. So when we can move this DB off the platform, right? I could step outside of his frame. I could get him off this thing and I kind of get him off balance, get all of his weight on this outside leg. And you want to take an inside release. This is what you guys got to understand about press releases. If you want to take an inside release, what arm do you have to beat? You have to beat his inside arm. That's the only thing that's going to screw up timing. So what if he recovers with this outside arm? We got to plan for that. So we get him to move off that platform. I get his hips to be here. If I just know that with this inside arm, my right arm, and I just rip underneath and I shrug him off, this is a ton of separation for me because I got him off that platform. I wanted to take an inside release. I beat that inside arm. Now I'm good. Now let's say we don't break his ankles like DIDNT Adams does right here. Let's say he's kind of stays square. He still keeps his base. He's not completely off balance. And he shoots this hand and I rip underneath. And let's say he recovers with this one and he gets hands on me. So what? I'm off a press. The whole goal of press, the whole goal of the DB working press, trying to be physical, trying to shoot hands, is to screw up the timing with the quarterback, to screw up the timing of the play so the quarterback moves on to another read and you're not at the right spot. That's the whole point of it. So if I can just get some space off the line, do it efficiently, take as much time as I need to. If I'm a third read on a play, maybe I could take a little bit longer. If I'm a first read, like in this case right here, you're running a dig, you probably want to be able to give something quick, get those hands off fast. But then I know which arm I got to beat to get to that inside release. So what he recovers, I can work my hand technique throughout the route at that second level release. So that's a great example of you guys just using this technique to just rip underneath, right? And so that's something that you can use. If you get that DB to move off the platform and you got to take an inside release, you rip underneath with your outside arm. You could shoulder reduce and dip underneath. You could swat with the left and then shoulder reduce. There are a bunch of different things that you could do. You could club over the top of this guy. There are a lot of different things you can do when you move him off that platform. So the biggest advice I can give to you is when you move the DB off the platform, that's why on this channel, we focus on so many different kinds of press releases that you can use. When you get him off the platform from those releases, just know which arm you have to beat. If you want to take an outside release and you sit him to the inside, just know you got to beat that outside arm. So what if he recovers with that inside arm? You shrug him off, you work those hands, we get to the top of the route so we can keep timing with our quarterback. That's the most important thing. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Now we're going to be talking about where you want to attack on a DB. What specific body part or what specific, not necessarily body part, but where on his arm, shoulder, hip do you want to attack? So we're looking at this clip here from Mike Evans, and he swats. See how physical he is, right? Big thing about hand technique is you guys want to be physical. You guys want to be not afraid to get in there, not afraid to have DB shoot hands. Now, some people teach, oh, you want to avoid contact. Now, you don't want to run into contact if you don't have to. You don't want to seek it out. But if the DB does shoot hands at you and try to be physical, you still have a plan for it. You could get some separation. You could go, okay? So now, let's talk about the exact points that we want to hit. The points of control, as I like to call them, right? They talk about it a lot in jiu-jitsu, for example. They talk about you want to wrist control. You want to control his wrists, right? So there are some spots on a DB that we can control him by if I'm physical and I give him that explosive, aggressive swat. So you got back of the shoulder, back of the elbow, and that wrist forearm area. Then at the top of the route when you throw him by, back of the hip as well. But back of the hip obviously is not realistic when you're coming off of the line against press and you got to work those hand techniques. So back of the shoulder, back of the elbow, wrist, forearm area. Those are the 3 points of attack. Now, reason why I don't say hands, right? We call it hand fighting. That was in the title description of the video, hand fighting techniques, right? You don't want to fight his hands. You don't want to swat his hands, because if you swat his hands, he's just going to move those hands right back and just get right up inside your frame. So you got to make sure that you have a plan. You attack firm, you swat firm. Now you see when Evans goes to throw here, I want you to see how like firm of a swat he has. He's slapping this elbow, forearm area, like we talked about, that wrist control. He's got a firm hand. You guys aren't swatting your hand. You aren't swatting him with like just like a soft hand. You know what I'm saying? You got like that limp fish, like a limp fish handshake. You're not doing that. You have a solid grip. You're trying to attack him, that point between your thumb and your index finger. That's where you're trying to hit this DB's arm, because that's the strongest point of your hand, and that's what can get you some separation and get his hips to lock out. Because you see how we didn't even get this DB to completely lock out his hips and turn all the way, but we got a hands off of him. And when you're a big body guy, especially, or it's a down tight, maybe you're in the red zone, those inches matter right here. Like this 100% matters with this DB, because the quarterback can put it on that spot. He can put it on your body, and you catch this thing. You have late hands, and we make a play, and it all comes from your hand technique. It all starts off the line, fellas. So let's watch this thing again, full speed. So he swats him by. Make sure we accelerate. When he doesn't have hands on us, we can make a play. So make sure that we're always constantly focused. DB, don't let him touch you. Don't let him touch you. He's got crap underneath his fingernails, and you don't want him to touch you, okay? So now, we're going to be looking at this like diamond release here. So everybody loves to talk about this, and everybody kind of always asks like, okay, yeah, a press physical DB, I know how to beat him because we cover that all the time. But what about a DB who's kind of like off in this catch technique and is waiting for us to come at him, and then he punks me with hands, and then he gets hands? So biggest thing I can tell you about that is range, right? This is the situation where maybe you don't want to seek out the hand contact and cover yourself, right? So you maybe want to be able to avoid it. So let's watch it full speed. So he decides to go with this diamond release, and I want to talk about the range that Slayton's in right here. So when he comes off the line and he goes with this diamond release, right? So a diamond release is like 3 steps to the outside on a 45 to get his hips to turn, and then we slip back underneath and run a slant, right? So he's coming off here. He takes those 3 steps, 1, 2, 3. I want you to see the range that he's in. He's not running straight forward at the DB. He's not drifting up into the DB. He's at a 45-degree angle where this DB's got to make a decision to either run with him, or if he's going to get hands, he's got to address him and come at him, and then we have a plan for it. Then we work the hand technique that we were just talking about. But when you guys work range like this, avoid the hand contact. We don't need to swat hands. That's where, like on Sunday Night Football, I always refer back to this in all my videos, like that, where we talk about this, where the opportunity presents itself, where they talk about Davante Adams. Oh, he doesn't use his hands. He doesn't use his hands. It's because he doesn't need to. He's in that range where that DB's got to either read his hips and go with him and not get hands, or he's got to come at him, and we got to plan for that too. Very similar to the first clip I showed you with Adams. He wanted to just work him off that platform and go. DB shot hands. I got a reaction for that. I just shrug underneath and go. So don't force the hand contact if you don't need to. A lot of guys, I see it all the time. They'll be doing a diamond release, maybe an inside shade DB, not necessarily this head up DB right here in this catch, and they'll go, but they'll try to really like almost run into him and get hands so they could throw him by. You don't have to if you don't need to. You got to sell vertical, sell with your pad level, sell with your speed, but don't be afraid of the hand contact. That's the number one thing. Don't be afraid of it. Let's watch it again full speed. So don't engage with the hands if we don't have to. If we can avoid and we can cut underneath, let's do it. Just like how at the top of the route, you're running maybe a stop route, man coverage, you got to snap it down. If that DB don't have hands and he's not being physical, you don't need to swat him by. You just got to drop your hips and snap down if you do what you need to do with the route and sell vertical. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, leave those in the comments. And again, if you want exclusive content only on our Patreon, where we talk about why routes didn't work, we break down poor QB throwing mechanics and just some of the things that receivers could do better in certain situations, but mainly why routes didn't work. And also we do weekly live streams on that where you guys can ask me questions, live Q&A. Hope we get you guys on that soon, and I'll see you guys next time.